G'day folks, welcome to another episode of Bandaged Cube Creations. Well, today we're going to look at the CUBETWIST 2x4. This is one of the very first mass-produced bandaged cubes, not the first, but it came out with a bunch of cubes that CUBETWIST produced before they did this kit. So they brought out about 6 puzzles. This was one of them. And it wasn't, as it was before the kit, it wasn't made with these pieces that snap on. It was actually glued on properly. But this 2x4, it's kind of unfortunate, the naming, because the naming of bandaged parts now, we've got bars that run here and these things are clocks. So I suppose it could have been called the 2 clock 4. I'm not sure. Now, I'll be honest, I'm not really understanding why the 4 is on the name, the 2x4. And I think a lot of people just refer to it as the 2 bar, even though it's technically the 2 clock. So as I say, what's it got? It's got 2 clocks. It's got a clock here running from up front to up back, and it's got another clock here running from down right to down left. That's the only 2 pieces. Now this one's kind of an interesting one, and it also sets up for a few puzzles that have this same sort of feel to them. So a lot of puzzles you find will reduce to a fuse block, or a fuse cube I should say, or a big block. Now I may or may not do videos on those 2 puzzles. They are certainly the foundational basics of a lot of other puzzles. This one, we actually end up solving it as a 3x3x2 with a little difference. So in terms of scrambling the thing, the easiest way, obviously at the moment I can't really turn anything except these top faces, but if I make the bars parallel, then I can start doing this. And so that's the sort of thing that I'll do. And then if I turn that face 1 turn, I've got to turn this face 1 turn to do that as well. So you're always kind of doing a few turns with double twists here and down the bottom as well, I suppose. Then we've got to do that. It's a little bit difficult to get it super scrambled just doing that, which is why you're sort of constantly switching things around. And maybe I'll move that one up, remove that from that edge, bring it there, etc., etc. I'll keep going until this is fully scrambled. Alrighty, well, you can see this is looking pretty nicely scrambled. I can't see anything that's next to where it belongs, so that's great. So the solve method, the first thing that I'm going to do is solve the middle layer of edges. So I'm going to get a complete middle layer here. And by the way, this can flip edges. So that's something that is a little bit different perhaps to some other puzzles that can't because of the restrictions, but this one can. So we'll look at how to deal with that as well. So solving middle layer edges, if I was going to solve this orange green, I can kind of turn it there so that it goes into position like that and just make sure the bars are out of the way. That's another one I've got, the blue orange. I can turn that around. Now, again, I want to turn it down. That bar's in the way, so I move it out the way. I cannot simply do that because it knocks that orange green out. So what I want to do instead is 3 cycle the pieces so that the orange green stays in while the orange blue goes in. The next one, got one up here. Yep. Green red, same kind of deal here. And again, I want to do a 3 cycle to put that in. And the last one, the red blue, you can see that is in but flipped. So what I want to do initially is just bring it out, get it out of there, put something else in. So I'll just put this piece in temporarily, and then I can move that around and now place it coming down this way rather than coming down this way. So again, I 3 cycle that piece and the whole middle layer is done. Now that only leaves 1, 2, 3, 4 edges to do before we do the corners. So what I would do initially is, obviously that bar is fixed there in place when it's solved. So I could try cycling the white blue across to there first. That one's in. What is next? I've got the orange yellow. Let's put this into place. The orange yellow has got to go here. The green white to there. The yellow red back to here. So I'll just turn that so that I can do some 3 cycles and cycle those pieces like so, then put them back and we'll see what's what. We notice now that we do actually have a couple of flipped edges. Now, what we generally will do is flip 2 edges that are on the same face here. And obviously it's going to be this edge and this edge, or it's going to be this edge and this edge, whatever. Now, you can happily do a setup to put the other edge there. I'm not going to do that initially just because I want to be clear on exactly what's happening here. So what I'm going to do instead is just for now, cycle this edge up to the top with this edge, just so that both the ones that need flipping are on the top. So I'll just do that. I think it's important to be able to see this with that middle layer in place. Okay, so initially, ignore that, that's irrelevant. We've got these 2 pieces to flip. Now what I want to do here is, you kind of saw it before, the piece that was flipped in here, I think it was the red-blue. I had to take it out and then put it in coming the other way. That's kind of what we're going to do here. So the first thing I'll do is ensure that I can turn this down into the middle layer. So that's where it is. At the moment I can't, so I'll just move that bottom part and turn it down. Now I want to turn this top face so that I can turn it up here, which will essentially flip it. Now to turn that top face, I've got to return that bottom bar so that this is free to turn. So then I'm going to move this up. Now, you'll notice that I want to move this up, but at the same time, this is the other piece that needed flipping. If we just come back to where we were here, I'll turn that back and turn this back. That's where we started. White, green, red, yellow. They were the 2 pieces that needed flipping. So the first thing I did was move that down to that layer. Now I can either turn this way or I can turn this way, and it doesn't really matter. Let's say I'll turn this way as I did. I want to bring the white, green up to the top unflipped, and I want to put the red, yellow into this position so that can be flipped. Because what I'm doing now is going to be 3 cycling those pieces. Turn that back. Oops, just 1 turn like that. Okay, those pieces are 3 cycled. Now you'll notice that the white green is now correctly flipped. The green's next to the blue. That's great. So that is oriented correctly now. The yellow red, if I could bring it up this way, will also be correctly flipped. Now how do I do that? Well, I want to turn it up here, but you'll notice I've got a middle layer piece out. That is the middle layer piece. So I turn that around before I turn it. And now just put this one out of the way. Notice please that the red green is going to come up to here and the red blue is going to go to there. So we've returned the middle layer, and that's one of the reasons I wanted that middle layer in position correctly. And we have flipped the yellow red and flipped the white green. So that's really the technique, is bringing it down to the middle layer, then bringing it up the other direction, replacing it with the other piece that needs to be flipped, and undoing those moves. Okay, so as I said, it doesn't matter where they are, but you do want 2 on the same face. Now I think the other thing that I needed to do was just replace this piece back up here. We can cycle these home now. So we had white, green, orange, yellow. Now you'll notice that now we've got a white, green and orange, yellow. We've actually got a swap. And, oh no, we haven't, because I've got to get them back. That's better. Okay. I will deal with a swap though. So let's go back here. We're going to cycle the yellow, red to the white, green to the orange, yellow, just as normal. Okay, that is done. And you'll see all the edges are in position. Let me set up for a swap. Okay, you'll notice here that all of the edges are done, except I've got the yellow, red, and the yellow, orange that need to swap. And for that, as per normal, we need to turn a face 1 turn. Obviously, it can't be this face, and it can't be this face because it contains that clock which needs to be fixed in its position. So it needs to be a side face. So I just want to put the 2 clocks parallel, and I'll turn a side face like that. That's fixed the problem. I now need to replace my middle layer edges. So the green orange is going to go here. I'll 3 cycle it with this one. That's the first one. The blue orange goes here. Let's find it. Okay, the blue orange is up here, or it needs to go up here. So I'm just going to do a quick setup so that I can cycle it to that position and using this piece. Then I'll undo that setup. The middle layer is back. Okay, let's return this and see what we've got. We do indeed have all edges solved now. Now that leads us on to the corners. Now for the corners, I'm going to use what I call the corner piece series for cuboids. I'm sure it must have some other snappy sounding name. I don't know what it is. It's essentially an upturn, right 2, an up prime, left 2, and repeat. And I think it's a very common algorithm, but that's what I'm going to do here. The slight difference is there's potentially a little bit of setup to get the corners correctly into their position. So what we want this time is we don't want these clocks on the top and bottom. We want them on the side like that. So they're parallel on the side. So we're always going to have to do at least one turn like that or like that sort of thing to get them parallel. Now I'm looking for any piece which is going to roll into position. I'll just see if I can find one initially. That's super obvious. This one here kind of, except that it's on the same face as this clock, so not necessarily ideal. So I want to be looking at it like this and thinking, is anything there going to work? Now you'll notice that as I've done that and put that one parallel, it's actually brought the yellow, green, red to a point where it can roll into its position. That's what I'm looking for. Okay, so once I've got that set up, if you want, you can look for the third piece, the white, green, what's this? White, green, orange is going to be this one. White, orange, green will be this corner. That will go to that position. If it's up on the top, I'll take it. If not, I'm not going to bother. I'll just do one piece at a time. So when I'm rolling from bottom right to bottom left, my third piece is up the top right. And that's the piece movement. I do an anti-clockwise turn of my upper face first and then left 2. If my piece movement is like that, then I'll do a clockwise turn and right 2. And I'm just going to repeat them. So all I'm trying to do now, place this yellow, green, red over to there. Here we go. Now that sequence is done. You'll notice that corner has placed. I'll return that and away I go for the next one. Now the yellow, green, orange, you'll notice here, does it seem like it can cycle or move across? Kind of, but not really, because that goes to there. But in actual fact, if it rolls, that green's going to be there. It's not going to be oriented. So it's not the sort of thing that I want to look at. Let's see if we can find something else. Yes, this is a good one. I've got white, red, blue that needs to go to here. So I'm going to roll that to there, and I'd like to get a third piece up the top if I can. And the third piece would be white, orange, blue. Now it happens to be there. So because I've got to turn this anyway, so this has got to be parallel. I note that if I do turn that, the white, orange, blue comes up precisely where I need it. And you'll notice also that the blue is on the top and that top color is going to go to the bottom. So it's automatically going to orient itself when we do this. So now I'm going to place that into there, that one over to there, get 2 done at a time. And by doing that, as I said, these things are parallel. Now the last thing before you do this is I can't turn it like this because of these bars. So I just want to move the bars out the way to the sides before I start. Okay, that's all done. Let's push the bars back and you'll notice that is in and that is in. And let's undo that setup move. Alrighty, what do we have next? White. Okay, looks here possibly like I can, remember I've always got to turn a side face. If I do that, I can bring this piece here up to that position. Now, unusual, so far this time, every single one of these is doing an anti-clockwise upper face turn first. Normally there's a mix. So I'll try and get at least one where I do the opposite. But for now, I've got white, red, green going across to here. I'm just gonna, I don't care what is here. I've got the pieces parallel, everything set up. Let's go. Okay, that's all done. What that actually did is place that one and it placed this one, which I wasn't intending, but there you go. How many does that leave? The last one? Gee, I really hope this is a... Yes, I think we might be on a winner here. Okay, so this last one, I've got the yellow, blue, orange running across to there. So this is going to be the one I want. I just have to work out how to get this third piece up to the top face. You'll notice so far I have not had to think about orienting any corners. I just get the first one to roll and the others just magically place properly. Well, that is going to continue here. So at the moment, I know that I can move that bar to the side if I need to, as long as they're parallel. They're not parallel at the moment, but I want that third piece on top. So I'm going to make them parallel and put it there. That third piece is now in perfect position. It's coming from here down to this one across to there. So when we've got those pieces, again, move the bars to the side. And this time, because we're going this direction, it's an upper turn, right two, up prime, left two, and repeat. I'll put the bars or the clocks back and undo that last setup move. And you can see it is almost as if by magic that the orientation just takes care of itself. So that is the 2x4, the CUBETWIST 2x4. As I said, it's a bit of a unique puzzle in that it sets the stage for other puzzles like this where we're going to look at reducing to a 3x3x2. Well, here we've got the 2x4 version 2. I came up with this. It's not a massive leap, of course. The 2x4 had the yellow big clock here and the white big clock here. What I've done is moved the white big clock up to an adjacent face instead of an opposite face. And I actually turned it around. I initially had one here. I thought, well, there's two options there. It turns out in terms of solving, the only difference is this option is slightly easier visually. So you're not kind of turning back and forth each time to see what pieces go where. So really, I didn't think that was worth doing. This is totally fine. Now you'll look at this straight away and go, oh, I reckon that's going to go to a big block. And yes, it is. But unlike a lot of other puzzles that are just, well, I should say the big block has certain restrictions on it. This one, because of the fact that we can bring pieces out of here, it does behave a little bit differently. And it's quite fascinating to me that the difference it makes in moving a big clock from an opposite face to an adjacent face in terms of the solving method. So the first thing I might do here is just start scrambling like it was a big block, and I probably would normally just hold it like this and do some turns here, and you can see, yep, that's getting scrambled. And I also want to make sure that these bits come out, so I'll take them out, put some others in and start scrambling them, and then maybe replace these with something else that's as good as anything, I suppose. They're all scrambled. And before too long, we should be in a position where this is relatively well scrambled. You can look at any piece that is next to where it should be. I can't really see any of them, so I'm going to say that's good enough. So in solving this, the first thing obviously is to get this back into position. And you might say, what about, have I not done any turns of these? Well, I kind of can't. I can do a turn there, but nothing else works. I can only turn that face there. And if I want to turn this face, I've got to unturn that, turn that face, and then this one will turn. But you can see it's not really doing anything useful. So, okay, in terms of this one, that's got to be a red yellow. So I want to bring out this piece here and replace that with a red yellow. And so if I bring that up and just turn it on, we're good. And then I want to do the same sort of thing with the corners. Now you can see the yellow, red, green corner is sitting in here already, but it's twisted. So let's initially, we've got to think about bringing it out, but potentially not disturbing the edge that's already been put into its position. So What I might do here is just turn off this corner temporarily. And I've got to think, how would I get that corner back into position so that it is correctly twisted? Well, obviously I'm going to want to have it so that the yellow goes up to the top. So initially I could turn it like this, move the corner off and put that edge back and bring the corner back. Now you can see it's going to go to where I need it to go. So I can turn it off, bring the edge down, put the corner on, turn it back. And that's placed one of those corners. I want to do the same thing with the yellow, red, blue. I might do it around here, and we can see the yellow, red, blue corner is kind of trapped in that position. So before I do that, I'll turn it off. And we'll have a look at the same thing. Do I have this in the right position? Probably needs to be yellow here. So let's turn it perhaps like this. Then we can bring that yellow corner in and put it back. And that's obviously the first main stage. Now from here, we want to start solving it like a big block. And the good news is the edges will solve exactly like a big block. They don't flip. And so we're just one at a time going, what's this? This is orange, yellow. So I might just turn that around to place it. This is supposed to be white, red. I'll turn that around to place it. Have a look at these two bottom ones, and you'll notice the orange green, which belongs there, is flipped over here. But what that means is it will happily cycle home into position. This is supposed to be white green. It's up here, so I'll cycle 3 edges to put that into position. And that leaves the last 3. Now they will either be in some kind of swap or some kind of 3 cycle. And you can see here, that's in position. These 2 are swapped. If that happens, it's the same fix as any other time we encounter this, a turn of a single face or a single turn of a face, and then replace these edges. So the white green first, and then the white red has got to go over to here. And notice every time I do this, I'm not thinking about orientation because it just naturally happens. I'm going to then land here either solved or in some kind of 3 cycle that I'll be able to fix with a down, down, up, up. So the edges are done. Now with a big block, what we would then do, and I am going to do it here, is we would do perhaps these 2 bottom corners, and then we'd be left with a 2+2 swap. So I'll do that first. I've got the yellow, orange, green that's got to go here. That's not in an ideal position, so I might look at this one first. White, green, red. That's better because I can take that around to here and I can do a swap of these. Now I've just noticed that the yellow, orange, green is opposite this. So if I do an up, up, down, down, it will swap these 2 and it will swap these 2. So I'll get both of them done at once. Okay, that's done. That's in position. I'll undo that. That's also in position. Now both of those have gone into position correctly twisted. That's not necessarily going to happen. Now what we'll notice now is that we've got either a 2+2 swap of some kind or we're going to get a cycle. So here we notice the yellow, orange, blue is in position, although twisted. And I've got a 3 cycle of the white, orange, blue to the white, blue, red to the white, orange, green. So ordinarily, if I had a cycle like that, I would be trying to do what I'd do on a single algorithm solve of a cube. I'd do an up, up, down, down. Then I'd turn this upper face to bring the other one in and undo. I can't do that here. And if I want to turn the upper face, I can't do that at all because if I turn this one off, I also have to turn this one off, but that's impossible to turn now. So that means I've got something else to do. Now, if you have a 2+2 swap and you have these 2 pieces opposite, these 2 pieces opposite, like you would on a big block, you just do 3 down, down, up, ups, and you will put them into position. And that's fine. If you have either the situation we have here or a 2+2 swap in different positions, such as 2 here and 2 here, then it becomes much trickier and you can't just finish it off like you would a big block. I was thinking about what we could do. We're kind of restricted, and I thought, I wonder if the corner piece series will come in handy here. Now, the problem with the corner piece series is you need 3 faces in a line, not around a corner, but in a line, where you can turn each face and have the ability to do that all the way through the sequence. Now, clearly, I can't have this blue face as an upper face. What if I held it like that? I can turn that face. As soon as I turn, I can't even turn that face because of there, so that's no good. What if I turn it around like this? I've got an upper face turn. I can do a right face turn, up prime, then a left prime. But then I need to do an upper face turn, and that has blocked things. So I can't use a normal corner piece series. What I can do is thinking about using what I've called the corner piece series for cuboids, where I would treat this as a 3x3x2 and solve corners from top to bottom, bottom to top. And in fact, that's the approach I'm going to take here. So I want to be able to move corners so that I have 2 on the bottom and 1 on the top. So let's think about what that might look like. The first thing is I'll put the puzzle so that I instantly get 2 corners that need to go into place on the bottom layer somewhere. Now, notice that I can move them around to there if I want to. So at the moment, I'd say, well, that white, orange, blue's got to go to there. So that's a clear that's the first corner going to the second corner. I then would need the third corner up in this position. If that's the third corner, that one is not, of course, it's the white, orange, green, which is over here. Now, before I do that, in order to be able to turn an upper face backwards and forwards, clearly I can't have this big clock. So I'm going to store that big clock on the bottom face. So where are we? We've got this corner ready to go to there. I've got this big clock down here, so my upper face can now freely turn. I now just need my third corner, which, if you remember, was the white, orange, green. I need that third corner to be up in this position. So I'm going to locate the white, orange, green. There it is. And I'll move it up so that it's here. So to do that, right prime, up prime, right. That's my setup moves, and I now have the 3 corners positioned where I need them. So I can go ahead and carry out up, right 2, up prime, left 2, and notice that as I do the left 2, because I'm doing 2 turns, this bar stays nicely positioned. And then repeat. Okay, that is done. I want to now undo my setups. So that one, and that one. Now that wasn't all of the setups, because I also then had this bar that had to go back, or the clock I should say, big clock. And the final one was that turn there. And you can see that all of the corners are now in place. So that's the thing that I came up with to cycle those corners home. It's obviously a pretty straightforward sequence. I must admit I didn't come up with it straight away. So sometimes these things can take a little time to percolate in your brain and go, oh, hang on, that might work. Now, the twisting of the corners. Well, to do this, what I'm going to have to do is use a Sune and a Sune mirror. I can't see any other way to accomplish this. So I would be holding the puzzle so that I've got the big clocks here and here. So kind of the same as I had it. And I now just want to get the pieces into the position that I want them over here. So a clockwise twisting piece at the back and anti-clockwise twisting piece at the front. Now this one has to go clockwise. This is obviously the anti-clockwise one. So my setups will be a right, up, and in fact I could just leave it at that. I don't need to put that back. There's no reason for it, because all I'm doing is twisting these corners. So just a right and an up. Now let's do the Sune. Now I need to do the Sune mirror, which would normally just entail this, but you can see that's blocked. So before I do it, I just turn it out the way to the other side. Now I can do it. Okay, that is done. Let's bring this back. We'll undo the 2 setup turns, and you can see the 2-bar version 2 is solved. And so I wanted to put that in the same video as the 2-bar 4, the CUBETWIST one. just to show it's probably not worthy of a separate video, but it's interesting the difference that it makes moving a big clock from an opposite face to an adjacent face. Well, this is the puzzle for the next video. This one is called the Bandaged Clock Saturn. And you may remember the crazy planets. The Saturn cube had a 0 face on yellow and white, and it had 1 faces on all of these side faces here. So that's what this has. It has a clock on each of the side faces. Now, again, if you're interested as to why the clocks are here and not here, so we've got sort of 3 that are that direction and 1 that's this direction. All I'm doing is going by the original diagram that Burjo posted of the idea of the bandaged clock planets. So that's the configuration. And you can see in terms of setting it up, you've got the clock at front to front down. You've got a clock at right to right front. Got a clock at back to back down. And then the final one, left to left up. So they are the 4 bandaged parts. We'll have a look at that in the next video.